The Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd like to acknowledge the Minister and her announcement today, and I think on her NCEA 5-year report, that's no comprehensive educational achievements report, it will have, I guess, tries hard, a poor listener, but has potential, Mr Speaker. I can't blame the Minister for the lack of comprehensive achievement, because she's a minister in a government that is effectively arrogant and out of touch, Mr Speaker. It is on housing, it is on child poverty, it is on policing, Mr Speaker, but if ever we wanted to see an example of that, it was about 2 weeks ago, just over 2 weeks ago, Mr Speaker, when we heard that there was a ship lying off the port of Tauranga, Mr Speaker, with 23,000, we were told 27,000 tonnes of PKE palm kernel expelliarmus on it, Mr Speaker. At a time when study after study, report after report has said that agribusiness leaders and farmers say biosecurity is their #1 concern, the biggest single threat to this economy, Mr Speaker, we had, off the port of Tauranga, palm kernel expelliarmus from a non-registered plant, Mr Speaker, with who knows what biosecurity risk included in it, Mr Speaker, and the government was considering letting it in, Mr Speaker. If ever there was a clear example of arrogance in this government playing roulette with our economy, Mr Speaker, it was to let in a high-risk biosecurity, in fact, 23,000 tonnes of it into this country, Mr Speaker. I think it's actually an indictment on MPI under the instruction, of course, of the government. There are a number of questions, how and why could this have occurred? Mr Speaker, MPI refuses to say who was the company that this was. Well, I'll name it in this House. I believe and was informed it's Archer Daniels Midland, a big multinational company that trades commodities around the world, Mr Speaker. I have no idea why MPI won't disclose who it is. Why would they have thought of bringing to this country high-risk biosecurity material, Mr Speaker, and trying to flog it off when we have in place strict criteria, and if they trade commodities in palm kernel, they should have known. They brought it to this country and thought they could negotiate their way through the border, Mr Speaker. Unlike some poor person who brings in an apple, who'll get shut down and fined immediately, this big multinational company thought they could negotiate their way. Why? Because they'd done it before. Because I'm informed, Mr Speaker, that they had done it before. They had brought to this country PKE from unregistered plants and got it through because MPI, no doubt at the instruction of the government, had caved in, Mr Speaker. There is no excuse for reducing the standards that we have in biosecurity around our border, Mr Speaker. We were given an assurance that our standards had been lifted after the efforts of 2 farmers in 2013 who, off their own back, went to Malaysia, exposed some shocking plants that were delivering palm kernel to us. MPI firstly denied that there was a risk, and then finally gave in and put in place a higher set of standards, Mr Speaker. But we've had, well, we assume, then safer PKE coming into this country. And there's about, I think, well, up to 2 million tonnes a year. It's a lot of threat. Mr Speaker, we believe that MPI, under the Minister's instruction, was doing the right thing. We now know, and it's taken 6 weeks for MPI to finally come to the conclusion to say that, no, we will not accept this. 6 weeks, in my view, instead of the government fining them, I'm guessing that that company is almost a right to come back and sue the government for procrastination. Why didn't the government on day one say to that company, get out of here? Get out of here, we don't want your high-risk product. But no, for some reason, they thought they could wiggle their way through the National Party, through the ministers, and get MPI to accept this. Mr Speaker, I'm not confident that we have a robust biosecurity system, Mr Speaker. This has exposed some of the shenanigans that are going on. And so what happens in other areas of high biosecurity, Mr Speaker? We have, as an example, the list of incursions from 2008 until 2015. 123 of them, not including velvet leaf, not including pea weevil, Mr Speaker. The system is not working. Why? Because firstly, the government cut funding for biosecurity in its first budget, cut 54 staff, then put some more money back in. We do not have a robust biosecurity system, and this government's prepared to compromise it.